I love The Simpsons. I still really enjoy the show. I know a lot of people don't feel that way anymore, and I do agree that the show isn't quite what it used to be. Nevertheless, I still like the new episodes. However, I am a little tired of these random specials. I just want them to go back to focusing on normal episodes. I love parodies. I adore good parodies. But I am a little bit fed up of these specials. That being said, I went into Yellow Mirror with an open mind. This is, of course, a parody of Black Mirror. I've not really seen much of Black Mirror, so that's worth bearing in mind in terms of my perspective. I'm a big Simpsons fan. No real experience with Black Mirror. Did I enjoy it? I'll answer that as I go through the events of the episode chronologically, as my opinion did change quite a lot. This is directed by Matthew Faughnan, written by Carolyn, Omine and Casey Omine, with, of course, a fabulous voice cast including Dan Castellaneta, Julie Carver, Nancy Cartwright, Yeardley Smith, and others. There is not an extensive voice cast list on IMDb at the moment, but I will go in search of more information and put what I can find in the description. And this starts off with a pretty decent start. We have the usual intro, then Bart falls through the blackboard. Homer is then singing Katy Perry's Roar in the shower, and it's a good start. The family then gather round during a blackout, and Marge tells the story of burning her bra in her youth, and then there's this strange light. Homer is now young, he's with Barney, he's looking for Marge. He hits his head, and during the 5 minutes that he was unconscious, he lived a whole lifetime, the life that we know the Simpsons have today. And he later admits to Barney, this is very quickly in the episode, but in terms of the timeline, some time has passed, and Homer admits to Barney that he's been constantly sad because he cannot stop thinking about that family he dreamt of when he was unconscious. And it sounds like torture. And 30 years later, Homer introduces the world to the Simpsons, a TV show that very closely resembles The Simpsons that we all know and love. This confirms also that the family live in Oregon. I don't think that that's saying The Simpsons, that Springfield is in Oregon. I think that's purely where Homer has decided to set. There's an ongoing question that the show often pokes fun at the fact that nobody knows where it's set or if it's even set in a specific state. And I like the fact that here Homer's like, no, it's Oregon. Just stating it as a matter of fact. But I don't think that that's where Springfield is set. Or maybe they're double bluffing. Maybe we'll think that it's not actually Oregon when actually it is Oregon. I'm sure somebody can work out whether or not that's actually possible. The panel discussion at this point was actually really good fun, and I really started to enjoy it at this point. I think from the time Homer admitted he couldn't stop thinking about the family, I really started to think of Homer differently. I started to really feel for the character. He's very likeable here. I mean, he's usually always likeable, but there's something about him here that's just really interesting, and my heart really went out to him. He's then singing Spider Pig, which I loved, and I think at this moment, I'm really enjoying it. He's then in a coma, and he's back in his dream. And this is where things take a turn for the worst again. Maggie has an odd experience with an iPad or a generic tablet, and I can't remember which. And I didn't really care about those moments when she started to watch the show on the tablet. And I thought, okay, this will just be short-lived. This won't be too long. This is the rest of the episode, basically. And honestly, I feel like they could have done something different with it. Children being obsessed with technology on tablets, phones, whatever, these brightly coloured TV shows. There is a topic, at the moment it's a hot topic of whether or not these overstimulating shows are actually problematic. And I think they could have done something different, similar but different, as a main episode, an episode as part of the main series. But in this particular episode, it pulls completely away from Homer. And that's the bit that I was enjoying. So I didn't really like the rest of the episode. Basically, the technology that Maggie is watching takes over. They go to the town hall where AI characters have the babies protected by robots. It got a little bit more interesting. When the babies cried, the AI character couldn't do anything, so Marge, a human, had to step in. There's some good dialogue between Lisa and the AI character, which I did quite like. And the ending was, well, I guess it's interesting, but it isn't. At the very end, technology has gone. The AI, robots, everything disappeared, and they have to sit around the fire again. And because there's a blackout, they have to get light from the fire. And they're all bored, so they decide to take fire to light their own activities. And I did like that contrast of the chaotic, invasive, controlling modern technology, and then immediately after we go back to the more primitive fire approach. So I did like that contrast, but as an ending it was really boring. Now I don't know if that's how Black Mirror episodes end. It doesn't make me want to watch the TV show. If that is the case, I certainly have no interest in that kind of flat, boring, open-ended ending almost. I'm guessing this is speculation. We don't get information about whether Homer goes back to his own life or if he's a dream within a dream within a dream. Are there more layers to it? We don't get a concrete answer there. And I think that might be how it is in Black Mirror, but correct me if I'm wrong. So I can understand if they're parodying that, why they would have this ending. But the bits that I was really enjoying the bits with Homer, and I wanted more of that. Yes, there's some good dialogue surrounding AI and what Maggie was watching, but I feel like it didn't work very well. The bits that were interesting were short-lived, and everything else I think could have had a slightly different direction, but would have been a great topic for a main series episode. So I liked bits of it. I didn't care for some aspects, but that being said, it might be one of the stronger specials, and that's not saying a lot because some of the specials are incredibly boring. But this one, I'd say I enjoyed at least half of it, and I wasn't necessarily expecting that to be the case. I think it does make some very good points. On the one hand, I don't love how some of the narrative played out, but at the same time, that could be how it's structured in Black Mirror. So I can't say, well, that was a bad decision, because I don't know if that is what would make sense with Black Mirror. And if that is the case, then in fairness, it would be a good parody. So if anybody can confirm any of that, please feel free to do so. But for me as a viewer, I didn't find it satisfying, but it could be what one would expect if they're watching this as a fan of Black Mirror. So by all means, let me know if you have any knowledge or experience there and can confirm either way. Ultimately, I will say that Yellow Mirror was not terrible. I wouldn't mind watching the Homer bits again. I would probably stop watching or stop paying attention if it's background company once it got to the bit with Maggie. The animation is very nice. The music is okay. I didn't love the direction the narrative took after that fact. But again, I'm willing to bear in mind that maybe that is what one would expect. If you're a Black Mirror fan, you know how those episodes are structured. So I do have to bear that in mind. But at the same time, from my perspective, I don't think it was as enjoyable as it could have been. But the bits that I liked, basically the bit with the Sadsons and just before that, I really thoroughly enjoyed. So for me, if it had gone in a different direction, I could have loved it. That wasn't the outcome, but at the end of the day, it definitely isn't terrible.